Welcome to You and I Podcast. I'm Amanda.
And I'm Jew.
And on today's episode, we're going to be getting into probably the most messiest show right now on Netflix, and that is the Ultimatum South Africa. So if you are new to the Ultimatum franchise, it is, I believe, an extension of the Love is Blind franchise on Netflix. And now, just like Love is Blind has kind of branched out to different countries, the Ultimatum has also done the same. So there is a newer version of the Ultimatum out right now, and it is the South African version. So I convinced hubby to watch it with me this weekend, and we were like glued. So anyway, go ahead and explain the concept.
So the concept of the ultimatum is one partner's ready to get married, the other partner is not ready to get married. So you go through this experiment, which I think is like a month.
Yeah.
And then
yeah, because it's 3 weeks with their new partner and then 3 weeks with their
okay, so it's really like a 6-week process.
Yeah.
So about a 2-month process. So you basically date somebody else and you're living in a spot with somebody else, and it's either marry or
marry
move on.
me or move on. So kind of like going into what he said, but a little bit more. So one couple issues an ultimatum because they've been together for some of them several years, some of them for a short period of time this season. There was a couple that wasn't together long at all, but I think it was the guy that gave the girl the ultimatum. Anyway, so the first step is they date other people. Like all the couples kind of disperse, and then they start doing little mixers to get to know each other. They go on dates, and then they have a huge dinner where they have to choose who they want to be their trial partner for the next 3 weeks. And if the person they choose wants to actually be their trial partner as well, then they go ahead and match up, and then they move in together. It's like basically like a whole trial. They call it a trial marriage. And then after the first 3 weeks with the new partner, they go back to the old partner for 3 weeks, and then they try to work on their relationships, or sometimes it gets a little messy and things happen, obviously, and they have to figure it out. So it sounds, just the concept and explaining it is messy. It's so messy. It's really a show that to me like breeds drama and messiness. It does have kind of a unique, well, it is definitely a unique concept.
Yeah.
I definitely think it's a unique concept.
But it's a very aggressive concept, and I think that you have to have a lot of self-control if you were going to do this type of messy concept.
Yes, because if you're already having issues, like, for example, in your relationship, and you're not sure about the person, because obviously if you've been together for years and you are not at the marriage stage, something's off, right? So, and you both, like, one wants it and one doesn't, because some people just be together and they don't want to be married, and that's fine. But if one person wants to marry, the other doesn't, something's off in your relationship.
Yeah, and I don't want to just say that the show necessarily, the point of the show is to be messy, because I don't think it's the point of the show is to be messy. It's
not, but it's messy.
But the way that my wife put it is perfect. The point of the show is for you to find out what's missing in your relationship. Yeah. Not to cheat, not to do all the other stuff, not to do anything. But it is temptation in the show. But the point is to figure out what's the missing piece in your relationship and why you haven't gotten married.
Disclaimer, I would definitely watch the American version. If you have never watched the show before, I would watch the American version before I watch the South African version. And the reason why I'm saying that is because the American version, especially season 1, they really try, I feel like all the couples pick somebody that they feel is going to try to help their relationship and like have the other person call them out and, you know, figure out what they need to figure out. Now, I will say the American version did have its pitfalls as well, but to me, it was more like the couples were actually trying to figure out their relationships for the most part. Like this one, it was based off attraction to one another. It was no like, I'm going to go with them because they can help me figure out why it's not working. It was like, yeah, she looking good over there. Like, it was a lot of that. It was a lot of that. So one of the things I don't like about the show is like how my husband was basically saying, you have to have a lot of self-control if you're going to put you and your partner in that situation. And it really breeds the opportunity for infidelity or, you know, cheating in your relationship, which is really not going to help your relationship. Because I feel like even if there's cheating in the situation and then after the show they decide to be together, they still have to work through that. And then they have to deal with public people having comments on, it's not just like, it's, oh, this person cheated on me in my relationship and we're figuring out. This person publicly cheated on you in your relationship and the whole world saw it and is commenting on it. So it makes it a lot more
tough.
It's especially if you're not like a celebrity that's used to being in the limelight. Even for celebrities, there are people too. So I'm sure there's that can be difficult. Yeah. So, you have anything you want to add?
That's pretty much, you hit the nail on the head. Like, I think that's my biggest, like, no for the show, or issue with the show is they're living with each other. It's one thing to date another person, but I think staying with somebody, sleeping in the same bed with somebody else, and being around them all the time, I think that's a little bit much. And
I think they push the envelope because, of course, they want views.
Yeah,
right?
Course,
they want views, they want people to watch it, and they don't want it to be so bubblegum, but it definitely does. If you're going to do a process like this, it needs to be more controlled. And I feel like they're just like in an uncontrolled environment and they're like pushed into it. Almost like Love is Blind. Because Love is Blind is very similar where it's like, okay, you talk behind the wall, you see the person, and then you're engaged, right? And then you get married in a few weeks.
Then it's like on this like honeymoon.
Yeah, and it's like, that's what we need to talk about too. The honeymoon type concept of the show. So one thing I think that I wish the Ultimatum was more of compared to Love is Blind is that in the Ultimatum they're on like a honeymoon like vacation kind of like the whole time with both people. So it's easy to fall for somebody when
it's the perfect control environment situation. Yeah. It's not every day you going to work and it's real life. It's just like you don't have a cell phone and you're with this person all the time and y'all not working. So the stresses of life is not a factor in the relationship, where in a real life situation, all of that's going to come into play, meaning being able to spend time with that person, you having your hectic everyday schedule of work, working out, whatever you do on your day-to-day basis. And it's just like you kind of just are in this controlled environment where you're around this person all the time. So I think that's another reason why.
Yeah, it doesn't really breed like the concept of like real life situations. Because if you're going to put it where, because the concept is either you marry me or move on, or sometimes you move on. Like when they say move on, it's almost like move on to the person that you were trial partners with. Right. And it's like, how do you know if you really want to move on with them if you don't see them in their day-to-day normal everyday life?
The good side of
you only see, because like when you're on vacation, that's vacation mode. Like you're not in the same mindset. You don't have the same schedule. Like one of the couple, Ruth, said was like when she finally did meet Isaac's family, she was like, I just need him to be there for me, because this particular couple she was with him. She's been with him for like 2 years and she hasn't met his family. She doesn't really communicate with him on a regular basis. It's very strange. And his claim, and I guess, is that like that's his culture and he can't bring a woman home unless he's super serious, whatever. But one of the things that she said that stood out to me was when she was like, I need you to be there for me. Like you can't be coming home in the morning at like 2 a.m. And so the trial partner doesn't see that side of Isaac because they're on vacation mode and he doesn't have to work. He doesn't have his friends around and the distractions that he typically would have, you know, on a regular basis.
It's a controlled environment, so it's going to make you look better than you really are.
Exactly.
Because you're not going to have
the stress of everything.
Yes, you're not going to have the stress. It's not no going out to the club. Your friends are not there. You don't have your cell phone. You don't have the distractions similar to Love is Blind. But the difference between Love is Blind and the Ultimatum is they have their little they're talking behind the wall, then they actually get engaged, then they go on a little honeymoon, but then they send them back to the real world.
Yeah, that's one thing about Love is Blind that I do like.
Where they get to see what is life really like after the honeymoon stage. Because
on Love is Blind, that's a lot of times where they start having issues is when they get back to their day-to-day, everyday life. One of the things I do like about the show is that it kind of forces people to deal with their issue, and it teaches sometimes the other partner how to not take your person for granted. Because a lot of the times everything's all good and they're moving on, but when they see their other person with their person and how they're connecting, like when they see their original person with their trial partners, because they're all within the same vicinity. That's another reason why it's so messy. So they see their person, their trial partner with
another person,
and they're like seeing their interactions and how they're laughing with one another, and it kind of rubs them the wrong way. And sometimes I think couples just take for granted. It's easy to take for granted somebody that you've been with so long, and you just like, oh, that's my girl, or he's my guy, whatever. But you kind of forget that they're attractive people, or you are attracted to them for a reason in the first place. So if I'm attracted to you for a reason, then I'm sure there's going to be another woman that's going to also be attracted to you. It's like I think sometimes we get in these like bubbles where we feel like the people we're with like are untouchable.
Yeah, I think you also get immune. It's almost like getting immune to your person. Even though I think my wife is hot, like I still see her, but I think that
you're hot too, babe.
Like you said, it's just. I know that's funny. But I think it's like you said, you become like you take stuff for granted, and then I think also one thing that I like about them when they are with their trial partner, even though you get to like the couples talk to each other. Like the men talk to the other men about their spouse.
What's going on? What their trial partner.
So I like that aspect of it, even though it's like some people might get jealous of it. I liked how they were like, you can get from somebody else's point of view what they see in your partner.
So yeah, I definitely agree, because a lot of times when the men or the women sit and talk, really the women have a harder time, I've noticed, having conversations about, I've been hanging out with your man. Like, I think it's just like they say men are territorial, but I feel like men, in this season at least, are able to handle the conversations like, hey, like, this is what I'm noticing or whatever. The women just like, they're messy. But what comes from it is like the men have conversations, or the couples have conversations about what they see in the other person's partner. And I think sometimes when you hear it from someone else, I think sometimes we always want to focus on the negative aspects of our partner. And when someone else is like, your partner's really, an amazing guy. He does this, he cleans, and then when they're with their trial partner and their trial partner's like, you take for granted of sometimes like your partner's like, my husband's super clean. So if I was with a messy person, I wouldn't know how to function, because he's like Mr. Clean, okay? He's monk. So, like sometimes they see the things that we're taking advantage of, or sometimes even they're like, I don't know why you with this girl, because she's, like you got a reason to be here, and I don't even know why you want to make it work with this person, because they're just not the type of person for you. And I think that also is beneficial, because family a lot of times can see it and they'll try like, I don't know why you with old girl, but sometimes hearing it from somebody you don't know, like this person is not the person for you. Right. It hits a little different.
I agree. And I think that's like one of the biggest things is like you were stating, they see the good and the bad, but you sometimes hear it from somebody else's perspective, because like you mentioned, some of these people has been with this person for a very long time. So you get, like as I said, immune, but you get comfortable, familiar with even the nice stuff that your spouse may do for you, or the positives, and it's easier for you to focus on the negatives, because everything that's good has happened is like become so routine that you don't realize how valuable your partner
that component of your partner is. Like, it's almost like when you're in a relationship and then you break up with somebody, and then like they hit you back and be like, I didn't realize all the stuff you were doing for me. Oh my gosh, you know, or they end up with someone else and they kind of like the grass is not always greener on the other side type situation, or like you chasing this and that, but you not taking appreciating what you got at home.
Right.
So I definitely think it definitely has a way of bringing out like not taking for granted of your partner and appreciating your partner for the things that they actually do. At the end of the show, they have to either propose to the person face to face, their original partner, or they decide to move on, which I actually think there's a good and a bad. I think the good to it is it makes them make a decision.
Yeah.
I think that's the good thing. But even though, I think the bad part is, even after this experiment, you still may not really have a, like, do you think, well, let me ask you, do you think at the end of the experiment that these couples are really ready to be like, I want to marry this person?
Some of them I do think it is. Some of them I think it's not.
Yeah.
So I think really the biggest issue is the ones that's been together for a very long time. It's reasons why. Either they have commitment issues. Another reason that they may not have gotten married is they're comfortable because they've been with this person since high school, since college.
There's a lot of that.
Or they're living together already. So it's like, what's the point of getting married? Because we're comfortable. We've lived together since college, or we've been living together for however many years, where it's like you're playing house almost. So what's the point of proposing? So I feel like it's a lot of different reasons behind it. So I think some of these couples would be married, ready to get married, but I think a lot of them are not because they're still immature. A lot of them are immature, or they're just not ready. Like they see, and I think that's why I say being with somebody else, I think is as messy as it is, I think it's good too, because sometimes it shows either the person you're with is you're not compatible with that person the way that you think you are, because you start falling for somebody else, or you see qualities in somebody else that you're like, dang, these qualities mesh better with.
Yeah, or you don't realize like what. Sometimes I think especially when you've been with someone for a long period of time, sometimes it's like, and you haven't made that commitment, like what qualities are actually important to you. Right. I think that's another good thing about the show is it brings out the things that I think a lot of these people on this show is their main issues, even though they're all different couples. I think their main issues, they don't really know what they want.
Yeah.
Like they are with somebody, they kind of like the person, love the person, but they don't really truly have like a solid foundation of like, this is what's important to me and this is what I need.
Right.
And so I think that this show has a really good way of bringing that out of these couples. It's like, I don't like this, I like that. Or I need this in a relationship and I'm not willing to compromise not having that. Especially when they see someone else like
that's doing
that they're wanting. It's like you don't realize how important a quality is for you until you actually are receiving it, because there's a deficit, right?
Yeah.
There's a deficit in their relationship, and then it's like when somebody's filling up that love bank, and it's like, oh, so this is actually possible in a relationship. And I don't think that people sometimes, like when you're with somebody, you just get so like you settle for like, you know, like this is the best that I'm gonna get. Like I love this person, I'm not gonna get no better. You know, I'll just deal with the fact that he's not spending time with me, or he doesn't want to, like he wants to go out every night without, you know. But then when you have a person that's like a homebody and they want to be up under you, you're like, oh my gosh, this is what I've been desiring and craving. So I definitely think it solidifies the couples like what they really want. Sometimes I feel like they just are pressured by the show to like make a decision.
Yeah.
Because of immaturity. You have anything else?
I think we hit pretty much majority of the main points of the show, or like what I like about the show.
Yeah, I think so too. I think our suggestion, you don't have to watch the show if you don't want to watch the show. But if you're interested in the show after our little conversation and like our little breakdown of the show, I definitely recommend, if you've never seen it before, start with the American version, because the African version is very dramatic and messy. And I don't know if it's because the show has been going and it's got so much popularity that they're trying to like make it more like relatable, like make people want to watch it more. Because I don't know, it could be a culture thing too, because there's been some parts where we're like, this feels scripted.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, now the American First season 1, you could tell it was actually a real experiment, and it was very like genuine. Yeah. Now, like I said, I don't know if it's like because of the culture difference with just the way that the couples are responding to one another, but definitely watch the American version first if you're interested in watching it. And then if you get hooked, then definitely you can, the South African version, get your popcorn ready. That's all I'm gonna say. So thanks for watching. Like, share, subscribe this video, or like, share, and subscribe. We are gonna be trying to put out content on Mondays. That's the goal, but definitely every week. So thanks for watching. Peace.
She's Amanda. I'm Jude.
Oh. I'm Amanda. He's Jew. Peace.
Wow.